AITA for getting a pregnancy craving during a party? I, 29 female, am pregnant with my boyfriend Sam, 32. Sam and I went to a party for his family. No momentous occasional, just a normal family get-together. During my pregnancy I have had intense cravings. While we were at the party I told Sam I was craving a slushie. About 30 minutes away. We had just arrived about 20 minutes prior. He said to give him a little while and we'd go get one. After about 30 more minutes I said it again to Sam. He said fine, get in the car. On our way there we got into an argument and he thinks the craving could have waited a couple hours. He's now mad at me, we have to leave the party early. We see his family 2 to 3 times a month, sometimes more, and I don't think it's a big deal to leave when I have a craving. AITA? AITA for embarrassing a guy in my lecture by telling him I'm not going to answer his questions? I, 20F, had to do a group presentation as part of my end-of-year assignment and I think it most went great. The presentation was 15 minutes minimum with a 15-minute question session afterwards. There's one guy in my course, John -21 meters, who many people in the course dislike. He's the epitome of fan, well actually, guy who likes to be the devil's advocate for things that shouldn't have a devil's advocate. He's embarrassed himself marathon once by asking ridiculous and pointless questions to our professors that have no relevance, and he's very full of himself. I'm aware that this all may seem harsh, but this has been consistent behavior for the past 2 years, and his smarminds isolated himself from many people in our corso who don't want to deal with him. After our presentation, he says he has several questions, and proceeds to ask some of the most relevant questions. For example, in the presentation, I mentioned that one of my inspirations for the project was a trend in 2020 where grown men, usually 30 to 40-year-olds, would duet teenage girls, 13 to 17, TikToks mocking them, from how they liked their coffee to their prom dresses. John's question was, don't you think they should get criticism for posting online? Not only was this not relevant to the project, but you could sense the tension in the room. So many people rolled their eyes and even his friend gave him a shut up nudge. After a few more questions which were all directed at me, not the other 3 people in the group, I admittedly got annoyed and said, listen, mate. I'm not going to answer any more questions from you. You're clearly trying to grasp at straws here. The rest of the questions from our other peers were great and actually of substance. And overall, I feel the whole thing went well other than that one hiccup. As we were leaving the hall, I hear John complaining to some of his friends, and then I saw him going to talk to our lecturer. I got an email from our professor asking me to join a Teams meeting where I was expected to apologize for embarrassing John and something about how we were supposed to create a safe space for our fellow peers, and by being rude I didn't do that. He said if we can sort it out before Thursday, tomorrow, by ourselves, then great. So I sent John a quick message saying I didn't mean to be short with him, but he was clearly asking pointless questions. He just replied, you didn't have to be H about it, and then blocked me. AITA, edit. Sorry for the late edit, I just got back from work. There were 3 guys and 1 girl, me, in the group, and the professor is a guy also. To everyone asking why I didn't handle this professionally. This is the first time I've done something like this, and I was already nervous because of the grade assignment aspect, and I get major stage anxiety. This was the first time in my whole life that I've had to do an academic presentation. AITA for calling the cops on my neighbor after they took a package off my porch. I, 38F, live alone in the house I grew up in. It was left to me by my mother after she passed away 10 years ago. About 4 years ago, a couple about my age moved in next door, and we've pretty much been at odds since day one. There have been numerous times and issues that we've disagreed on. I have 3 cats that I sometimes let out into my backyard. My neighbors have a dog that would jump the 5-foot chain link fence separating our yards to chase my cats. I told my neighbors if I caught their dog doing it again, I would call the cops. They actually had the audacity to ask if I would be willing to split the cost of a taller privacy fence instead of, training your dog not to jump the fence. Obviously, I refused as I wasn't Theon causing the problem, and the fence is technically on their property anyway. They ended up putting in a taller fence. Then, they asked me to split the cost of taking down an ash tree that was on their property. AITA had become infested with some bug that killed the tree, and dead limbs were falling on their driveway. They had the city come out, and the survey guy said the tree was actually about 10% on my property. I told them the tree was theirs, and if they want it down, they'll have to pay for it because I don't have a problem with it. Needless to say, we're not friends. They've also thrown some loud, late-night parties that included bonfires and loud music that I had to call the cops for as well. I am currently out of town visiting family for a couple weeks. I have a friend who comes over to my house every day to check on my cats and check for mail and packages. I have medication for my cats that are delivered regularly. I got a notification the other day that some packages were delivered, so I texted my friend to let them know. But before my friend could get there, I got a notification from my Ring doorbell. I pulled up the live feed and saw my neighbor on my patio. I asked him what he was doing and he said a package of theirs got delivered to my house by mistake, so he was just grabbing it. I told him to leave and that my friend would bring over his package when she comes over. He said he's not waiting for that and tried to leave. I told him if he takes a package from my porch, I'm calling the cops. He shoved the package in front of the camera and said, "That's my name and address, op. I'm taking my package." Then he walked away. So, I called the police and told them that he stole a package from me and I have video proof. They said they would investigate. When my friend got there a little later, the police were talking to my neighbors. The police must have left while she was checking on my cats, because when she went to leave it was just my neighbors outside. The husband yelled at her to tell me that I'm a huge asshole and that I need to take the police off speed dial and let them deal with more important instead of using them as my own personal problem-solving service. AITA for calling the police on my boyfriend's family? Last year I moved in with my BF and his dad. My BF and I were in a long-distance relationship for a few years and I moved across the country to be with him after I finished graduate school. Due to such a large distance, I opted to sell my car and buy a new one after moving. When I did this, my boyfriend helped me out by loaning me some money to help pay the down payment, but I have since paid him back. Last week, my BF's older sister, who lives in another state, came to visit and stayed in the house with us. This was my first time meeting her and I thought she was very nice, but I didn't get to know her well. 2 days ago, my BF and I were out running errands together and his sister called him to ask when he would be back so she could borrow his car to go hang out with her friends in a town about an hour away. He told her it would be a while and Shevin asked if it was okay to borrow my car. My boyfriend asked me and I told him I was not comfortable with that and to tell her no. My boyfriend did tell her no. I heard the entire conversation. Well, a few hours later my boyfriend and I got home and my car was gone. I was shocked and my boyfriend was confused. When we went into the house, his dad informed us that he gave my BF's sister the spare key to my car that was in the lockbox because she said she needed to go somewhere. My boyfriend told him that she asked to drive my car and that we had told her no, so he didn't understand why she was allowed to take it, and his dad said that since my BF helped pay for the car that it therefore was partly his, which meant his sister had the right to drive it as well. I was absolutely livid and I couldn't believe that anyone would do something like this. My name is the only one on the title, insurance, etc., as I am the sole owner. My BF told his dad to call her and tell her to bring my car back immediately, and she said she would be home soon. Well, after 2 hours I called the police and reported my car stolen because I was worried that if it got damaged or something then I would be forced to pay the repairs even though it wasn't my fault. My BF's dad and sister were pissed about this and they accused me of trying to get them arrested. They are now demanding that I apologize to them and tell the police it was all a misunderstanding, but I really don't want to because I feel that they've tried to take advantage of me. My boyfriend agrees with me, but he even said he thinks calling the police to report the car stolen may have been too far. AITA? AITA for not reminding my girlfriend to come get me after she forgot me in a car for an hour? This past weekend, my 21F girlfriend, 22F, decided to make the 2-hour drive to her university for her graduation ceremony. She had just moved to my town this month, and did not want to go through the whole 4-hour-long graduation ceremony. But she did want to go up and take pictures and say goodbye to her friends before they all dispersed over the country. My girlfriend asked me to make the drive with her, 4 hours in total. I did not really want to go, but we have been going through a rough patch and I thought this would be a good way to spend some much-needed time together. Plus, we have been together 2 years, so it was all of our mutual friends graduating and I wanted to say goodbye to everyone and see them all one last time. So, we left at 8 a.m. on a Sunday and made the drive. When we got there, it was chaos. Everyone was leaving the auditorium and there was a massive crowd. I told her that I would go and find a place to park the car, and she could go find our friends and figure out what the plan was. I told her that I would text her where I parked, and I would stay in the car until she called or texted me to tell me where we were meeting, and if she didn't call Methan I would assume that we were meeting at the car, which she agreed to. So I parked the car only about a 5 to 10 minute walk from where I dropped her off, and texted her where I was. She responded saying, okay, and then I sat in the car and proceeded to wait over an hour. I thought it was weird, but I figured she was just having a hard time finding everyone in the crowd. Plus, I just trusted her to contact me when she found everyone. When she finally gets back, she told me that she found everyone and had been taking pictures and saying goodbye to everyone. She said it was an accident and just got caught up in the confusion of the crowd. I was hurt, but asked where they were, and if we were meeting up somewhere. She reluctantly told me that all of our friends had left with their families right after the ceremony, and that they were gone. Some of them out of the country, I might add, so I totally missed my chance to say goodbye to them. I was heartbroken that she left me out of the plan she had begged me to come to. She knew where I was parked, and she could have easily asked me to meet them. Seeing as we still have a 2-hour drive home, and it was technically her graduation day, I told her that we can talk about this later because I don't want to ruin your graduation day. So today I was, obviously, in a mood, and she asked me if I was mad at her. I was like, of course I'm mad at you. You left me in the car like a dog. I guess she took me saying, it's fine, we can talk about it later, as, don't worry about it, we're fine. She then told me, even though I forgot you, if you thought that then why didn't you call or text me? AITA for not just letting it go. Should I have called or texted her after it had been a long time? Edit 1. I should clarify that she drove up, Ayahuasca company. I wasn't sitting in the car to have a reason to be angry with her. I just genuinely trusted the plan. I wasn't angry until she came back and told me what had happened. I was happily sitting in the car reading my book and watching TikToks. Also, I did not want to ruin her grad, which is why I told her we could talk about it later. Afterwards we got lunch and I have her graduation present. I just thought we'd talk about it the next day, but she seemed to think it was fine now. Edit 2. I should probably also add that when I said, wait for the plan, it is because I had no idea if we were all going somewhere after the ceremony, like to get lunch or to go to a park to take pics. Or if we were all just going to meet there. My chief didn't know either, so that's why she went to ask everyone. And when I said, I didn't really want to go, it is because I asked my GF to make a plan with everyone beforehand so this exact thing wouldn't happen, but she was intent on just showing up and playing it beer. I'm a plan person, so things like that stress me out. Also, we have been having problems L'Italian, she's been ditching me a lot, which is why I wasn't sure if I wanted to go, but I decided that the 4 hours in the car would be some one-on-one time that we really needed. Also, I can understand why a lot of people are saying that it was her graduation, and it wasn't about me, which I totally get. But I should mention, was a big ceremony for the graduates in December that I went all out for. I was the photographer. I did her makeup and hair. I got her presents and apartment for a little congratulations party. I did also get her a nice graduation present for this too, which I gave her for when we got home and she loved.